July of 2015, the most famous lion in Zimbabwe was lured out of the safety of a national park with the carcass of an elephant. His name was Cecil. He had a black mane that people came from all over the world to photograph. He'd been studied by scientists at Oxford University for years. He was wearing one of their research collars. He was so used to people that he'd let the safari trucks pull up within a few meters of him. A trophy hunter paid around $50,000 to kill him. And when the world found out, something happened that had never quite happened before. By one researcher's measure, it became the single biggest public reaction to the death of one animal in human history. Talk show hosts cried on air. Petitions hit millions. Airlines changed their rules overnight. But here's the part almost nobody who shared that outrage ever understood. While the entire world mourned one wild lion, thousands of other lions were sitting in cages. One country to the south, bred for the exact same ending. Cecil at least lived free first. The others never will. And some of the people paying for it think they're saving them. This is the strangest episode I've made, because the cruelty in it doesn't look like cruelty. There's no concrete cage, no glass, no obvious villain. It looks like a holiday. It looks like a smiling tourist bottle feeding a cub she's been told is an orphan. I'm gonna tell you about Cecil, the whole story, including the part that happened after, that's somehow worse. Then I'm gonna show you the most successful scam in the history of wildlife tourism, where the cub in the selfie and the skin on the wall are the same lion. And I'm gonna show you the moment a country finally said, enough. This is Behind the Glass. Episode 7. Let's start, like always, with what a lion actually is. Because the lion is the one everyone thinks they know. The king, the flag, the Disney character. And almost nobody actually does. Here's the first thing that makes a lion different from every other cat on Earth. It's social. Out of around 40 species of cat, tigers, leopards, your cat at home, every single one lives alone, except the lion. Lions live in families. We call them prides. And the heart of a pride isn't the male with the big mane. It's the lionesses. They're sisters, mothers, daughters, aunts. All related, and they stay together their entire lives. They hunt together, in coordinated teams, taking up specific positions like players on a pitch. They raise their cubs together. A lioness will nurse another lioness's babies. The pride is one of the tightest family structures of any predator on the planet. If you've watched my other episodes, you know where this is going. It's the same story as the elephants, the same as the orcas. The family is the animal. The males, their job is defense. A coalition of males holds the territory and protects the pride against rival males who'd love to take it. And this is where it gets dark, and where it connects straight back to Cecil. When a new male takes over a pride, he will often kill all the existing cubs. Because a lioness nursing cubs won't mate, but a lioness who's lost her cubs will. It's brutal, and it's natural. And you need to understand it to understand why Cecil's death was so much bigger than one lion. Hold that thought. A lion's roar can be heard from 5 miles away. It's one of the loudest sounds any land animal makes, and it's communication. It says, "This is my territory," and it says, "Where are you?" to the rest of the pride across the dark. Wild lions live maybe 10 to 14 years. It's a hard life. Around half of all cubs don't survive their first year. The wild is not gentle to them, but it is theirs. The space, the family, the territory, the hunt, the roar across the savannah at night. That's a lion. Now, take all of that, the family, the territory, the social mind, the roar, and imagine breeding a lion that will never have a single piece of it. A lion born to be touched and then shot. We've built an entire industry to do exactly that, and most of the people funding it have no idea. Before we get there, you need one number, because it reframes everything. 100 years ago, there were an estimated 200,000 lions in Africa. Today, there are around 20,000. That's a collapse of roughly 90% in a century. The lion, the animal we've put on coats of arms and flags and football crests for thousands of years, the universal symbol of strength, has quietly vanished from about 26 of the African countries it used to live in. It's gone from most of its range. The king is, across most of his old kingdom, simply gone. And it happened while we weren't really looking. The same silent disappearance we saw with the giraffes a couple of episodes back. The reasons are the familiar grim list. Their habitat gets carved up. The animals they eat get wiped out by the bushmeat trade, so the lions starve. And they come into conflict with people. A lion takes a farmer's cattle, the farmer poisons the lion. So, that's the backdrop for everything I'm about to tell you. Wild lions are in freefall. There are only about 20,000 left. Remember that number, 20,000 wild, because in a moment I'm going to tell you how many are sitting in cages in just one country, and it's going to genuinely shock you. So, Cecil, he was born around 2002, and he became the star of Hwange National Park in Zimbabwe. The black mane, the calm temperament, the willingness to let tourists get close. Oxford University's Wildlife Research Unit had been studying him for years. He wore a GPS collar that logged his position every couple of hours. He was, in every sense, a known, named, studied, protected animal, the pride of the park. In June 2015, an American trophy hunter, a dentist from Minnesota named Walter Palmer, paid around $50,000 to hunt a lion. Now, Cecil lived inside a national park where hunting isn't allowed. So, on the night of the 1st of July, according to the Oxford researchers, the hunting party did something specific. They took the carcass of an elephant, and they dragged it just outside the park boundary onto private farmland where hunting was permitted. And they used it to bait Cecil across the line. He followed the bait out. Palmer shot him with an arrow from a hide. But it wasn't a clean kill. Cecil was wounded, and he got away. And the hunting party tracked that wounded lion for somewhere between 10 and 12 hours before they found him again the next morning and finished it. Then they took his head and they took his skin as trophies. And his research collar, the one tracking him for science, went missing. Palmer had a permit. He was never charged with anything. He said afterward that he had no idea the lion he'd shot was famous, or collared, or a study animal, that he'd trusted his local guides. The guide was charged. The charges were later dropped. Nobody in the end was punished for the death of the most famous lion in Zimbabwe. And then the internet found out, and it exploded. One of the Oxford researchers called it, quite seriously, the biggest global response to a wildlife story there's ever been. The donations that poured into the research unit crashed their website. 40-something airlines banned carrying hunting trophies. It became, for a few weeks, the biggest story in the world. Now, here's where I have to be honest with you, because there's a flip side, and this channel only works if I give it to you. Remember what I told you about male lions and cubs? When Cecil died, scientists were genuinely worried, because Cecil was part of a coalition, and his death could have let a rival male move in and kill his cubs. But it didn't happen. His coalition partner, a male named Jericho, held the pride together. Most of Cecil's cubs survived. That's the one piece of good news in the whole story. Except, and this is the part that should really land, Cecil wasn't a one-off. He was just the famous one. 2 years later, in 2017, a trophy hunter shot another lion outside that same park. It was Xanda, Cecil's 6-year-old son. He left cubs of his own behind. In 2021, another, a lion named Mourned. And in 2025, it happened again. A collared lion from the very same Oxford study named Blondie, lured out and shot in what the press called a harrowing echo of Cecil. The Oxford researchers have a number for this, and it's the number that tells you the truth. Of all the male lions they've put a study collar on since 1999, 42 of them have been killed by trophy hunters, including Cecil, including his son. So, the world cried over one lion, and the thing that killed him just kept going. Because the outrage was about a name. It was never really about the system. And the system, the real system, is so much bigger than Cecil. It's waiting one country to the south. I want you to picture a tourist in South Africa. Let's say a young woman on the trip of a lifetime. She's at a wildlife facility, and in her arms is a lion cub, a few weeks old. She's bottle feeding it. A staff member has told her the cub is an orphan, that its mother rejected it or died. They've told her that her money, and the money from the dozens of tourists behind her in the queue, goes toward conservation, toward saving lions. She believes it. Why wouldn't she? She's holding a baby lion, and she's been told she's helping. It's the best day of her holiday. Almost every word she's been told is a lie. And what's actually happening is one of the most profitable, best disguised cruelties in the world. Let me walk you through the whole life cycle, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's the entire point of this channel. It starts with breeding. On these farms, lionesses are forced to breed far faster than they ever would in the wild. And the way you do that is brutal in its simplicity. You take the cubs away within days of birth, because a lioness who loses her cubs becomes fertile again quickly. Remember that fact from earlier about male lions killing cubs to make females breed again? The farms figured out the same trick. So, the cub in that tourist's arms isn't an orphan. It was taken. Its mother is in a pen somewhere, being bred again, right now. Stage 1. Cub petting. While they're tiny and cute, the cubs earn money from tourists who pay to cuddle and photograph them. Stage 2. Walking with lions. Once they're too big to safely hold, the same animals get used for lion walk experiences. Pay to stroll alongside a young lion, guided along with sticks and bits of meat. Stage 3. The volunteers. This is the cruelest twist. Facilities recruit young people from around the world to pay, sometimes thousands of pounds, to come and work as volunteers, hand-rearing the cubs. They're told the lions they're raising will be released into the wild. They never will be. A lion raised by human hands, bottle-fed, completely unafraid of people, can never survive in the wild and is far too dangerous to ever release. The volunteers aren't saving anything. They're providing free labor and paying for the privilege to raise an animal toward its real purpose. Because here's stage 4. Once that lion is fully grown, tame, comfortable around humans, with absolutely no fear of the man walking toward it with a rifle, it's sold to a hunting operation, and it's shot. Behind a fence, in an enclosure it cannot escape from, by a trophy hunter who's paid up to $50,000 for a guaranteed kill. This is called canned hunting. Canned, like canned food. The outcome is sealed before it starts. There's no chase, no wild, no chance. The lion has been engineered from birth to walk right up to the person who kills it. Every single day in South Africa, 2 to 3 captive lions die this way. Over 800 a year. And then stage 5, the final one. After it's shot, the lion's bones are sold and exported, mostly to Southeast Asia, where they're ground up for traditional tonics, often sold as tiger bone. So, the same animal generates money 5 separate times. As a cub to pet, as a youngster to walk with, as a project for paying volunteers, as a trophy to shoot, and as a skeleton to grind up. The cub in that tourist's arms, and the skin on a hunter's wall, and the bones in a jar in another country are the same lion. That's the scam. That's the whole thing. If you watch my tiger episode, this should feel sickeningly familiar. The cub petting for profit machine, breeding endlessly because the cubs age out. It's the exact same trick America ran with tigers. This is just the darker, more complete version. South Africa industrialized it. And now, the number I told you to remember. There are about 20,000 wild lions left in all of Africa. In South Africa alone, there are between 8 and 10,000 lions in cages. On 2, maybe 300 breeding farms. That's roughly 3 times the number of wild lions that country actually has. Bred for nothing but to be touched and walked and finally shot. The thing that makes me angriest, though, isn't even the killing. It's the word stamped on every brochure: conservation. The whole industry sells itself as saving lions. It is not. Not one recognized lion scientist, not one real conservation body uses these animals for anything. They can't be released. They're genetically useless to wild populations. The wild lions kept right on collapsing the entire time this industry boomed. It doesn't protect a single wild lion, it just launders a slaughter business through a word people trust. Now, I want to be fair here, because there's a real debate next door to this, and I'm not going to flatten it. Canned hunting, almost nobody defends, but wild trophy hunting, the regulated kind, in the open, where a hunter pays a large fee to shoot a wild animal, that one's genuinely contested, even among conservationists, and I'd be lying if I told you it was simple. The argument for it goes like this: a wild lion is worth a lot of money to a trophy hunter. If a community can earn, say, $50,000 from one hunt, suddenly that lion is worth more alive as a future hunt than dead as a cattle killer. The money, in theory, funds anti-poaching, pays local people, and gives a poor community a financial reason to tolerate dangerous animals on their land, instead of just poisoning them. Some serious conservationists genuinely believe regulated hunting, done right, protects more lions than it kills. That's a real position, held by real experts, and you should know it exists. The argument against is that in practice it's rarely done right. The money often doesn't reach the communities. Hunters target the strong breeding males they shouldn't. And as we just saw with Cecil and his son and Blondie, regulated can mean baiting a famous lion across a park boundary and facing no consequences. I'm not going to settle that one for you in this episode. It's genuinely hard. But here's what I'll say clearly. That debate is about wild hunting. The captive cub to canned hunt industry has no such defense. Even most professional hunters have turned against it. Even the South African Tourism Ministry said it was damaging the country. And that's where the hope comes in, because something genuinely big happened. After years of campaigning, a documentary called Blood Lions that exposed the whole industry, a petition with 250,000 signatures, a massive government investigation. In May of 2021, the South African government did something almost no one expected. It officially accepted a recommendation to shut the entire captive lion industry down, to stop issuing the permits, to end the cub petting, to end the canned hunting, to end the breeding. On paper, the government agreed to dismantle the whole machine. Now, I have to be honest, the way I always am. Announcing it and finishing it are two different things. The industry has fought back hard. Years later, it's still being wound down, still being argued over, still not fully closed. Thousands of lions are still in those cages right now, and what happens to them is its own heartbreaking problem, so it's not a victory you get to celebrate cleanly. But it is the thing this whole channel keeps coming back to. A cruelty that ran for decades, in plain sight, sold as conservation, got dragged into the light, and a country was shamed into beginning to end it. That only happened because enough people found out, because the lie stopped working once people could see it. And there are real sanctuaries, places like Lions Rock in South Africa, that take in lions rescued from circuses and these farms, and let them live out their lives in actual space, with no cubs to breed and no tourists to perform for, and no fence line where a hunter waits. Not the wild, but not the scam either. So here's the one that's almost too easy, and it matters more than any episode I've done. If you ever travel to Africa, and you should, it's extraordinary. Do not pet a lion cub. Do not pay to walk with lions. Do not sign up to volunteer raising cubs that you're promised will be released into the wild. I know how good the photo looks. I know how much it feels like helping, but there is no legitimate operation on Earth that lets you cuddle a wild predator's baby. Every single one of those cubs is in the pipeline. The most powerful thing you can do is simply never hand them your money, because this entire industry runs on tourists who didn't know. Now you know. And if you want to see a lion the right way, see it wild from a vehicle, on a real safari that funds real parks, or support the sanctuaries and the wild lion conservation groups I'll link below. That money actually protects them. In 2015, the world wept for one lion named Cecil, and then watched his son be shot 2 years later and barely noticed. And every day since, in a country just to the south, a tourist somewhere has smiled for a photo with a cub, not knowing she was holding the first day of its life and paying for the last. The king of beasts, bred by the thousand, to be petted, and then shot. The cage was never the cruel part. The cruel part was how much it looked like love. There are always more lives behind the glass, and I'll keep bringing them into the light until the glass is empty, or until something finally changes. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.